So I have with me here today Adam Milstein, who is a regular, I would say, with us at the Jerusalem Post, somebody who has worked closely with us in the battle to fight against anti-Semitism. Adam, I want to start by asking you, what factors contribute to the recent surge in anti-Semitism since October 7th? And how are these factors different than what we saw before?
Thank you, Maayan. It's a pleasure being here with you again. As you said, I'm a regular and I'm very proud of it. And I thank the Jerusalem Post for being a voice for the fight against anti-Semitism and strengthening the state of Israel. So, what happened on October 7 was terrible. Hamas massacred 1,200 Israelis, injured more than 7,000, raped women, killed baby, burned baby, chopped the heads of babies, and it seems like instead of huge support for the state of Israel, we see huge increase in anti-Semitism worldwide, and it really surprising many people. But I don't think it surprises me because I've been talking about the rise of anti-Semitism. I've been speaking about it, and I've been writing on it here on the Jerusalem Post. If you check my author page at the Jerusalem Post, you see that starting maybe 2016, I already spoke about the fact that anti-Semitism is not just coming from the far right, it's coming also from the far left. I spoke about the new kind of anti-Semitism, which is led by the Islamo-Leftist Alliance. I spoke about the danger, not just to Jews, the danger for America from the Islamo-Leftist Alliance. I spoke about the perfect storm of anti-Semitism and the fact that we need to be aware, awake, and to fight back. I also spoke about why Jews don't want to fight back, are not capable of fighting back. And we can talk about it too. I don't think it's much different today. And I also spoke about if we present anti-Semitism as a Jewish problem, we will never be able to fight back. We need to illustrate to the West and to America that this is an American problem, and we need to align ourselves with our American allies and fight back against the enemies of America. I spoke about the danger of the media. I spoke about the danger of radical education ideologies like CRT, the critical race theory, and the DEI, and others. So I've been speaking about a lot, and I'm not surprised from what I'm saying right now. In fact, if I look at the previous conflict that we had between Israel and Hamas, there was one in 2014. I think we called it, forgot the name, and started at that time, we started having big waves of anti-Semitism. It exploded 10 times more in 2021 in the Guardian of the Wall. The first one was Protect Edge. Guardian of the Wall, it just exploded. Jewish students were locked into the dorm, were afraid to go out. People with Jewish clothes were afraid to walk on the streets, and the Jewish community was outraged. But as soon as the war was over, in June of 2021, everything just went back to normal. Jews went back to their businesses, to their family, and we forgot about the fact anti-Semitism is growing like crazy. And now we're in October, November of 2023, it's exploding. The Jewish community is waking up, and I just hopeful that this awakening is not just going to last another month after the war is over, but it will wake the Jews and it will wake America. Because as I said many times, this is not about the Jews. We're just the canary in the coal mine. This is about America and the West. We need to understand that anti-Semitism today is different from what it used to be in previous centuries. In the past, hatred toward the Jews came from hatred to our race, if we are a race, hatred to our religious, to our clothes, and this hatred toward Jews have led to blood libel, to prosecution, to massacres, to pogroms, and the Holocaust. But today, while the old classical anti-Semitism is still in place and being promoted by the far right, it's really a poisonous anti-Semitism that is being led since the beginning of this century by the Islamo-Leftist Alliance, an alliance between the radical left and Muslims, secular Muslims, that together created an alliance against the West, against Israel, and against religion. And this coalition, who actually started in the United States in the 1980s in institution of higher education, today is the leader and promoter of all the radical ideologies that are taking over the campuses, taking over corporate America, the media, and every place else. They're an extreme danger to America, but just picking up, in this case, on Israel and the Jews. You know, in 2020 with the BLM riots, they picked up on the police, and they're just picking up an issue, and they're becoming more and more violent and more dangerous. And this hatred is going to actually be pushed against America. You see, the way they think is that it's coming from this notion of intersectionality, which goes and say that all the victims in the world, all the oppressed, all the people that are powerless should unite and together fight against their common enemies. It doesn't have to be from the beginning one enemy. The Muslim bring Israel and America. The radical left bring America and Western values. And together, as a coalition, they're fighting against what they call oppressors, the powerful, the colonial, the imperialist, and together they are determined to destroy America and build something back better. Not sure what it means, but this is what they want to destroy America. And in this moment, they're focusing on Israel and the Jews. But think about it. If the students on the universities feel that they can justify Hamas for killing Jews because Hamas, which they also connect to Palestinians, they're oppressed, they suffer from the occupation of Israel. What is going to stop those students tomorrow come and kill Americans? It's the same logic. The white privilege, the one that enjoy from the racist system, they're the oppressors, and the victims need to stand up and use any means possible to destroy their oppressors. So what we're looking right now is just a training field, and tomorrow we'll see all those movements on campus and beyond coming and trying to kill and destroy America.
So in what ways has social media played into all of this? You know, we're talking about the modern anti-Semitism in the modern era. So obviously, social media must also play a role. And I'm wondering if there's any specific actions that can be taken in order to counter what's happening, not only in the physical sphere, but also in the digital sphere.
Excellent question. Before I move to the social media, I just want to, I think, highlight a first campaign of anti-Semitism that the Islamo-leftist alliance engaged in. We are familiar with the BDS movement. It started by Palestinian terror organization in 2001, but it was adopted by Islamo-leftist alliance here in the United States, and they promoted it on campus and beyond as a way to actually fight for Palestinian rights, fight against the occupation, fight against the oppression, the war crime that Israel is committed. But if it wasn't for the Islamic leftist alliance or for the radical left on campus, the BDS would have never been what it is today. And remember, the BDS is the one who started with the slogan "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," which is a call to kill Jews in Israel and now worldwide. And it was never should have been allowed on campus and beyond. In fact, you know, one of the problems is many Jews actually defended the BDS and promoted the BDS. And not only did they help to change public opinion in America against Israel, they also split the Jewish community. And we had many in the Jewish community that were criticizing Israel every day. Those Jews that have been criticizing Israel maybe are realizing today that anti-Semitism doesn't distinguish between a good Jew and a bad Jew, a right Jew and a left Jew. All Jews, with no distinguishment, are going to go on the train and go to Auschwitz. And they're starting to realize that the fact that they have supported the enemies of the Israel and the Jews is going to come back and shoot them in the back. let's talk about social media. I think social media today is a major factor in the promotion of anti-Semitism. I think the world altogether has changed in the last 60, 40, and 20 years. First of all, we have social media, and we did not have social media before. If before, an article in the newspaper would have taken a week, a month to reach 1,000 people or 10,000 people, today, you have billions of people on social media. And every piece of news or misinformation or disinformation or propaganda get immediately, within a second, to the eyes of hundreds of millions of people. So today, social media is huge. All the young generation are getting majority of their news from social media. Young generation below the age of 50, below the age of 20, are getting 50% of their news from social media. And while the numbers are maybe coming, decreasing, over 30 is maybe 30%, and over 50 is maybe 15%. The numbers of people getting the news from social media is increasing every day. And the problem with social media is that social media is not censored. Kind of misinformation, disinformation, propaganda is not only allowed on social media, it's actually being promoted. The more hate that you spew, the more attention the algorithms are going to give you. And if in general on social media, for every pro-Israel activist, maybe we have 100 anti-Israel activists. When it comes to hate, I think for every pro-Israel activist, which does not use hate as much, we have at least 1,000 anti-Israel that spew hate and promote violence. And unfortunately, not only their content is not being censored, it's not being verified, it's actually being promoted by the algorithms. So I think we have a huge problem. We also need to look at who is funding social media, who is behind social media. So we know that TikTok is a Chinese company, and China is the #1 rivalry of the United States that is aiming on taking over the superpower of the world from the United States. And they would like to do it from within. They would like to brainwash the heads of young Americans. And I think they're doing a phenomenal job. And TikTok is just prospering like crazy. There is like 1.5 billion users on TikTok and maybe 100 million accounts here in the United States. And it, most of the hatred on social media is coming over TikTok. Minimum censorship. Also, all the enemies of America, if they don't actually sponsor a social media, they're heavily invested in social media. They have their propaganda channels on social media. Look at AJ Plus, which belong to Al Jazeera, which belong to Qatar. They promote hatred to America and Israel on social media, and they have millions of followers. We know that those countries, whether it's Qatar, Iran, Russia, China, they pay influencer to spread hatred toward America, hatred toward the United States, and hatred toward Israel. And so the fact that social media is not really censored or controlled is a huge problem. And I just don't see how we're going to be able to stop this promotion of hatred and violence on social media.
So since October 7th, I mean, do you feel like the rise in anti-Semitism and the vitriol aimed at Israel is a sign of something greater?
Absolutely. I've written about it many times. I wrote that anti-Semitism is actually an American problem, because if you look at who are the anti-Semites today, the far right, but most of the anti-Semitism today is promoted by the Islamologist Alliance. Those alliance of Islamists and people from the left, as I said, want to destroy America and build something else better. Nobody knows what exactly better will mean, but they are destroying America through the education system, through the critical race theory ideologies and the diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI and ethnic studies. And they penetrated corporate America with cancel culture and wokeness. They're controlling the media. They already have presence in the Congress. They are working day and night to destroy the United States of America, to destroy Western value, to destroy religious value, to destroy family values, and their hatred toward Israel and the Jews is just one of the issues that they are fighting against. But we are not the first and the utmost target. The first and the utmost target of the Islamo-Leftist Alliance is the United States of America and Western civilization. So when you see this huge spike in anti-Semitism, we need to understand that everything that's happening today is going to happen 10 times more against American and Western civilization countries. This is a sign for the future.
Thank you so much. Now, what would you say to non-Jews who are surprised by the animosity of anti-Israel protests that are happening around the globe?
I think we need to use a different approach for the non-Jews. In the past, what we have done to really acquire the support of the Christians is to tell them how poor we are and how miserable we are, and we need your help, and we did get it. But no one have really presented to the non-Jewish communities that this war is about them. The Islamo-Leftist Alliance is the anti-religious movement. They don't believe in religious. In order for them to have power, they need to destroy the power of God. They need to diminish God. They need to diminish our values. They need to understand this is about themselves. We need to fight with them, not because they have pity on us, that will not work for a long time, and we're losing support of those people that for years had pity for the Jews. We need to align ourselves with our Christian partners and fight together against their enemy, the enemies of the Jews, the enemies of the Christian, the enemies of American. In fact, I think we are in a very unique time in history, because in the past, Christians have actually been against us. They were the anti-Semites, if you look at Europe. But today, we are at the same boat. We are at the same boat with many other faith-based communities. We are in the same boat with people that care about America, care about American values, American way of life. And this should be the slogan: let's fight together against our common enemy, the same slogan that the Intersectionality Coalition used. We should fight together against our common enemies. Yes.
So, you mentioned the history of the Christians, that they used to be very against Jews. Today, some Christians still remain, but as you said, there is a growing or a swelling number of pro-Israel, especially evangelical Christians, who are standing with Israel. Are there any specific historical or cultural contexts that amplify anti-Semitism? And how could education be utilized to combat prejudice and more promote inclusivity, perhaps with these, allies and otherwise?
I think education today is the main problem. The Islamo-Left Alliance took over our education systems, and they are promoting anti-Semitism, they are promoting anti-Americanism, they are promoting anti-American values. And I don't think we can use the educational system today to fix the problem that they have created. So, it might be a little bit extreme, but when I hear people calling to defund the police, I say, let's defund the universities, let's defund our schools, because they are the problem. I see more and more Americans doing homeschooling, and more Americans sending their kids to religious institutions. I think the Catholic schools are considered one of the best private schools in America. A lot of Jews sending their kids to Catholic institutions because they want to shield their kids from this hatred toward Israel, the hatred toward Jews, and the hatred toward America that they are facing in public schools and in universities. So, yeah, education is very important, but we need to look at a different way to use education to fight against the common enemies of the Jews in America.
In what way can grassroots movements and civil society organizations contribute to the fight as well? And what about religious leaders or religious institutions?
I think civic society organization can be very helpful, but we need to understand that Jews alone cannot defeat anti-Semitism. We just don't have the numbers. Not only we don't have the numbers, we're split in our opinions. For every Jew that believes that we should fight anti-Semitism, there's another Jew that believes that anti-Semitism is because of us. And lastly, I don't think Jews are willing to fight. They got a lot to protect. They got too much to protect. It's just too much risk to fight. So they prefer to give the money to other people to fight for them. And I don't think I can change it a lot. Maybe there is a little bit of awakening and more Jews want to fight back, but I am very concerned that after the war, we won't see it anymore. What we need to do is we need to investigate what exactly is the Islamo-leftist alliance doing to destroy America. We need to investigate, we need to show to Americans that the Islamo-leftist is determined to destroy them. We need to identify the organizations that are willing to fight against the enemies of America. We need to fund them. We need to build coalition with them, and we need to mobilize them to fight, I think, our common enemies. I think religious leaders are very important. They need to realize that this is about them, that Islamo-leftist is against Christian, it's against family values, it's against everything America was built on. And instead of saying, well, we are Christian United for Israel, I would like to see Christian United for America, because that's much more important than Christian United for Israel, in my view.
It's a very strong statement. Let me ask you something that would really pertain even to me personally and to the work that we're doing, the interview that we're doing now, in terms of the role that the media can play. I mean, I assume that if religious leaders, grassroots movements, education, all play a role in being able to combat anti-Semitism, that media today, as much as we spoke about social media, mainstream media could also play a role. How can responsible journalism be encouraged to counteract the spread of this anti-Semitic narrative?
Media is very crucial to fight against hatred and discrimination and racism in America, against anti-Semitism. Unfortunately, we no longer control the media, and I'll touch about it in a bit. There is some media channels that are still, pro-democracy, pro-America, and pro-Israel. But we see a lot of media channels like the BBC, the Guardian, the New York Times, the LA Times, and others that are anti-American and anti-Israel. So to use those anti-American channels, it's impossible. And we need to understand why so many people in the media are anti-American. You have to understand that the radical left organization, nonprofit, invested billions in educating reporters and communication majors. The country of Qatar as universities, schools and universities dedicated to communication that they're funding. For example, Northwestern, the School of Communication, is funded by Qatar. So the people that are graduating from Northwestern, you can understand, are inherently anti-American and anti-Israel, and they're placing them in all the major media channels, and it's going to be very hard to control what those people think and what they write. In addition, the enemies of America invest heavily in the different media organizations. So I think with as much as I would like the media to be part of the solution, I think the media today is part of the problem. And if we want to see something different, we need organizations that care about America, need to invest in the education of young communication majors and invest in media channels to reverse this wave of anti-Americanism that we see in the media today.
Very scary. Now, what about international collaborations and partnerships? Are they also crucial in addressing the rise in global anti-Semitism? And if so, then what steps could be taken to enhance the collaboration and cooperation, both between international organizations, but also between nations themselves, between various countries, perhaps in our region here in Israel, or as you mentioned, so much of this ties to the West and to America, perhaps in the West?
Israel is receiving a lot of international support right now, not exclusively. There are many countries that are supporting Hamas and the Palestinians, but in general, countries like the United States and England and major European countries such as France and Germany have come out against the atrocities of Hamas. Just today, I think Germany announced that they are stopping the funding of UNRWA, which is this refugee fund that promote teaching of anti-Israel and anti-America on their schools. So today, I think we have a lot of support, but I don't know if we will maintain this support unless those countries will understand that this is about them. When we talk about what's happening in America, in addition to social media, there have been a massive immigration of Muslims to America, and more so to Europe. Those Muslims, if you investigate them, you see that 95% of the Muslim immigrants that come to Europe are anti-Semitic, and they are actually increasing anti-Semitism in their own countries because they, inherently, everyone that comes from a Muslim country was educated, was born to be hatred of the Jews. We need to explain to those countries that their future is on stake. It's not just about Israel. It's about Western civilization. It's about their own democracy, their own individual rights, their own freedom of the individual, freedom exchange of ideas. And cannot be just about supporting the fact that Israel is righteous in this war. It's not going to last a lot. Now, we are very lucky with Europe because in Europe, anti-Semitism is illegal. And then people are prosecuted for promoting anti-Semitism. There are much more rules and enforcement in Europe. Unfortunately, in the United States, anti-Semitism is protected by the First Amendment, by freedom of speech. And it comes to the point that this freedom of speech is allowing hatred and promotion of violence. And I think it's very important for the United States and other countries, if anti-Semitism is not allowed, to make, I think, rules that not allowing to incite for violence protected by freedom of speech.
So Adam, is there anything else that you want to add or something I didn't ask you that you think is important for people to know?
I want to really, there's some few issues. First of all, I want to highlight the fact that international institutions are inherently and historically anti-Israel to make me sick. Look at the UN. The UN was always a hotbed of anti-Semitism, and all the bodies of the UN, if it's UNRWA, if it's the the United Nations Human Rights Council, they're all inherently anti-Israel, and they're promoting Hamas. They're allowing Hamas to commit atrocities, and they're protecting those atrocities. Look at the Red Cross, for example. They become a weapon of Hamas. The same way that the Red Cross came in 1944 and announced that the Nazis did not commit any Holocaust, that Auschwitz was not used to kill any Jews. The same Red Cross came, I think, last month and said that there's no tunnels under Shifa. There is no hostages under Shifa. I mean, those international organizations need to have consequences. They cannot continue to promote hatred toward Israel, toward the Jews, and toward the Western civilization. Another thing that I want to mention, which I don't think I touched a lot, over the years, I spoke a lot about anti-Semitism to the point that it's unbelievable, but I became persona non grata. People, the last 10 years told me they got sick and tired of me talking about the rise and the danger of anti-Semitism. In fact, it is amazing, but people came to me and says, because I'm speaking and alerting about anti-Semitism, I am the reason there is anti-Semitism.
Oh my God.
The alarmists, the people, if we didn't talk about anti-Semitism, if we allow the Jews just to put their head in the sand, there will not be anti-Semitism. So because of it, I became less of a public speaker and more of an action man. And I've been supporting many organizations that are very good in fighting the fight. I've been a huge connector. And one thing that I want to say to all our audience is this is not the time to reinvent the wheel. There are so many good organizations that need funding. And we should focus on funding existing and effective organizations and making connection and collaboration between different organizations so that we can get force multiplication and synergy. I hear so many people that have great idea to do new things, and my answer to them is, let's support the organization that have proof of concept, that have receipts that they are doing things effective, and don't try to create new organization today. It's not the time.
Well, thank you, Adam, so much. I really appreciate, as always, you taking the time to speak with us. And I think that now more than ever in the aftermath of October 7th, the topic you've been speaking about for so long, as you said, is people are aware of it. and has become ever more important that we speak about it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Maayan. Pleasure being with you today.
Thank you.
Regards. Bye.
Bye.